operation. Probably the best way to understand what's going on is to have a look at this a moment. If I turn this upside down, what in fact we are looking at is the upper jaw and perhaps the eye socket along here. So it's a little hard at the moment to figure out what's going on here, but basically the skull section is in the lower part of this block. So just about here there is a piece of bone that way, there's a piece of bone coming that way. If I just scan along a little bit, perhaps you can see at least one tooth. There we are. There's a tooth there. So it appears to be running somewhere across here like this. So that's about all I can say for now. Obviously it will become a bit more clearer once we start digging around. You can probably see another piece of bone here. So this must be the top of the skull and the rostrum running roughly this direction. So what I've done so far, it's all a bit flaky around here, is I've secured some of the loose fragments of shell underneath some of these bones. I've cleared some material from the back of this one, re-glued it in place, and you can see there's a bone here going that way and the bone here going that way. I'm just going to try and flake a little bit more off, carefully uncover what's there, and that's a bit more of the bone uncovered. So at the moment I'm having some difficulty figuring out this jigsaw puzzle. That's basically just a dry fit for now. So if I assemble that, it kind of looks as though that piece probably fitted there. These are the roots of the teeth here, which suggests to me that the upper part of the rostrum is running this way. I've actually just lifted this piece away. I thought there was a piece of jawbone here, and I kept working away with it and it just kept looking like shell, and this whole piece was loose, so I very carefully lifted it out. And I'm just going to do it again just to show you, reveal what's beneath. And what I can see there is a couple of teeth down here, and there appears to be a sort of a jaw-like bone here and a jaw-like bone there. Let's just pull this out of the way, see what that reveals. But still not sure what's happening. So what I have to say is it's nice to have a couple of substantial bones here to work on, because it's a real treat really, because some of the other bits of bone are so flaky and so fragile. So I'm just going to try and work away at this and remove another piece around here. And it's just about breaking away now. We'll try and lift that piece out. And there. Yet more beautiful bone exposed. Look at that, isn't that nice? Lovely piece of bone. So the plan is just to continue exposing this up with the two bones as it runs along here. Got a little bit of a problem here because I've got a beautiful tooth, but it's sitting right on top of the larger lower bone. So I'm going to bypass that problem for now and just keep chasing this other upper bone all the way along and see where it takes me. So we have a bit more progress on the block now. As you can see, there's just one more piece of shale to come off, this one round here. The last section has been taking it off from here to here. Nothing very much exciting has come into view. There's another paddle digit there, one there, a little one below it, and another one here. This bone seems to almost peter out, and I'm wondering if I'm going to see any more bone at all when I remove this final section. Seems to me that this must be, I believe, part of the rostrum round here. A few teeth scattered about.
Well guys, I have reached a bit of an impasse. So I always told myself if I ever reached a point in time where I felt as though I couldn't prepare this fossil to a good standard, that I would call in the experts. So I was sitting at home one day wondering how my Ichthyosaur was coming along in Chris and Alex's workshop in Charmouth, and the phone rang. Picked it up, it was Chris. He said, "Your Ichthyosaur's ready for collection. And by the way, Alan, I think you'd be very pleased with it." So I got quite excited at this, and I said to Chris, "So, you know, what is it? Is it got a lovely skull with all the teeth in it? Have I got an eye socket? What is it?" Anyway, Chris said, "You just have to come down and take a look for yourself." So I tried several more times to winkle out of him what it was, and after a while I realised I was getting nowhere, and I just said to Chris, "You're not going to tell me, are you?" And he said, "No, you just have to come down and take a look for yourself." So myself and my wife Dinah jumped in the car and drove off to Charmouth. The next video you will see is a short clip taken in Chris Moore's workshop.
Is that somebody bothering about our parking?
No, they're just looking at the
Right.
things in the cabinet.
Well, with David Attenborough be impressed? Yeah.
Yeah, he loves fossils.
Yeah.
Well, there is one more bit of exciting news I have to tell you. When I went down to see the fossil in Chris's workshop, he said to me, "It's not Ichthyosaur communis." And you could have knocked me down with a feather because we thought that's what it was, and it is the most common Ichthyosaur on the Dorset coast. So anyway, he did tell me what it was, and I won't tell you right now, but I'll just continue the story a bit more. So I went down to the Charmouth Heritage Centre, and I was having a chat to Phil Davidson, and I said to him, I'd really like to sort of pin down the exact species this Ichthyosaur is. Anyway, he said to me, "I'm a good friend of a Dr. Dean Lomax, a paleontologist I'll put you in touch with him. So it all had to be done by emails because it all had to be COVID safe. But then I got in touch with Dean Lomax, and he asked me to make various measurements here and there. And then he made his pronouncement, and his pronouncement was that it is in fact Ichthyosaurus breviceps, and it's much less common. So Dean Lomax and paleontologist from America, Judy Massara, have actually been through all the museum collections of Dorset coast ichthyosaurs all the way across Europe and in North America, and they've looked at every single specimen just to make sure that it is what it was recorded as, and they've discovered that there were actually more Ichthyosaur breviceps around. Originally it was thought there were about 10 or 11 specimens, and it's now thought there are about 30. So I have actually got one of 30 or so of this rare ichthyosaur. So that is just the icing on the cake for me. I'm going to shoot one more video where I'll do some nice close-ups where you can have a good look at the jaws, the teeth. I've also got the sclerotic ring, which you don't always get with an ichthyosaur. It's a hard bony ring which opens up and closes across the eye. It closes down when it dives to protect the eyeball from the pressure. So let's start off by having a closer look at the skull. We've got a complete lower jaw or lower mandible right the way through to the back. Quite a lot of very nice teeth are still in place. It's not always the case with ichthyosaurs because the teeth are in grooves, and it's not uncommon for a lot of the teeth to actually fall out. You can see also a few paddle digits scattered around, and of course we've got this wonderful hard bone round the eye, the sclerotic ring. Chris Moore was amazed that this specimen had a sclerotic ring because, as you can see, the whole top of the skull is completely missing. The big flat bone at the back here is called a coracoid, or to you and I, a shoulder blade. Let's come in and take a good look at the skull. Isn't it fantastic? Okay, so some people have ichthyosaurs better than that, but I'm really delighted with that. A few bits missing, top of the skull's missing, bits of the upper jaw are missing, but most of it is there. And it was a big surprise both to Chris and to me, because as you'll have seen from the video earlier on, I was poking around in the shale and I just could not really see where I was going with it. Also, this piece along here, which I thought at the time was the lower jaw, is in fact the upper jaw, and it was right on the edge of the shale block, and it was all crumbly at the edge. So he's done a great job of stabilizing that and preserving it. There's nothing fake on this ichthyosaur. There's nothing there, you know, that for cosmetic reasons. What you see is what you get. Beautiful paddle.
Just going to bring you in for another picture at one of the forward paddles. I'm using a macro lens this time so we can really see in detail how beautiful these paddle digits actually are. They have a beautiful structure to them, radiating lines. And the second paddle coming into view, it's just amazing, all the tangle of bones strewn about the place. So we're now going to take a look at the rear paddle and the rear of the Ichthyosaur. So the big bone here is the femur, and this one and this one is one of them's the tibia, one's the fibula, and the rest are the little paddle digits in between that are just scattered about and tangled. Down here you have some of the tail vertebra, or getting towards the tail. That's the smallest one I have. These bones here, interestingly enough, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the pelvic girdle bones, and Dean Lomax tells me this is only the second breviceps specimen which actually has a full set of these pelvic bones preserved, so it's quite unusual. You can see here the little stubby ribs towards the back end of the body, and bits of the neural arches, not terribly well preserved, along here. So I thought we'd have just one last look at the Boxing Day Ichthyosaur. Bed that your fossil came from. So in the case of my Ichthyosaur, it came from the lower Jurassic, lower Sinemurian, Semicostatum subzone
either close to the bottom of the Charmouth mudstone formation, in which case it would be Sauzeanum subzone, or close to the top of the blue lias formation, in which case it would be Semicostatum subzone. This is how my Ichthyosaur would have looked 195 million years ago. The name is derived from Greek, ichthy meaning fish and saur meaning lizard, so it's a fish lizard. First impressions are that it's like a dolphin. The body plan is similar, with one striking difference. The Ichthyosaur has a vertical tail fluke and propels itself through the water in a fish-like manner. Breviceps was one of the small ichthyosaurs and would have fed on fish and squid and perhaps the odd ammonite. Typically, this one grew to between 1.5 and 1.8 meters, so Dean describes mine as being sub-adult.